Hello everyone, I'm Sylvia from Fairlight Tarot. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to have a look at decks and energies that I'm going to use in the month of March. So today I'm filming and it's the 7th of March and it's the day in which Saturn is leaving Aquarius and entering Pisces. And I've just thought this morning that it would have been a good day to be filming this video because the last 3 years that coincided with the passing of Saturn through the sign of Aquarius have been depleting for me. There have been a constant struggle, both physically and mentally. And therefore, to me, this ending actually is a really good thing. It's a really good deal. And it's something that needs to be celebrated, or at least it's something that needs to be acknowledged. It will be entering Pisces, which, you know, will have different effect for a lot of other people. And obviously, because Saturn is such a slow planet, every single sign in the zodiac is going to be affected. It's always affected by such an important planet. Let me say that I'm quite happy and relieved that at least I'm not sitting in the front row being an Aquarius. And it's also because I believe that Aquarius might be affected slightly more by Saturn's movement because Saturn is our own planet. So it's something that obviously we feel with a particular intensity, I believe. But anyway, so after these 3 years in which my energy have really been depleted by personal and global events, I feel that March has to be the month of grounding. And hopefully, once I'll feel grounded, it will be also a possibility for me to start recharging my batteries. So these are the decks that I'm going to focus on for this month. Now, first and foremost, I'm just going to show you how I work with these two decks. It's the Ember and Aura Oracle. It's actually Oracle d'Alchimie Lunaire by Stephanie Lafranc and Vic O, and the Naked Heart Tarot by Gillian C. Wilde. These two decks have a very similar kind of aesthetics, and they pair really, really well together. But let me show you. I actually use them in a very specific way. I think I might have mentioned it in some of my videos, probably one of the pairing videos that I've done, but it's always really fun to have a look at how, I know for one, I enjoy very much looking at how other tarot tubers work with their decks, especially when they work with 2 or more decks together. It means to me that it's a lesson. Of course, I'm always learning. It's always very interesting, and it also gives you the opportunity to expand your own practice, I feel, because I'm in constant evolution, and I believe everyone is. I mean, we're supposed to constantly change the cells in our body, so it's kind of, as a consequence, our tastes and likes in life tend to take different meanings, and we may eventually also change. I know that there's a theory that says that people don't change, and I really think it's wrong. It's something that I've noticed whenever I'm in touch with people, whenever I communicate and interact with them in a meaningful way, whenever I create a meaningful connection, I always feel that we are so influenced by others that it's impossible to believe that we do not change according to what others give us as their own personal life, their own personal experience. But let's have a look at the way in which I use these two decks together. So first of all, I'm going to pull a card from the Ember Oracle. As you can see, it's got really, really pretty backs. So this deck is amazing when you want to check in on the energies of the month you need to focus on. It's a deck that is divided in categories. The book is, I would say, quite necessary, even though there are keywords at the bottom of the cards. And the keywords, most of all, are quite easy to understand if you don't speak French. However, if you do want to do a really good work, you do need the guidebook. And in that case, it's not an easy French to understand. And I would then recommend in that case for you to use Google Lens as a translator. Okay, let's see what we can look at. Oh, how appropriate. Okay, well, as you can see, I pulled the Mars card. Mars is denominated as the conqueror, and as you can see, that's a very visually helpful interpretation of this card. You can see the planet. Obviously the predominant color is the red, but it's also a color that is very saturated, almost orange. In some places there is an arrow, obviously also symbolizing the fiery attitude of Mars, the conqueror. So also the fighting typical of this planet. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly show you the what the guidebook says for this card. So it's card number 25. 24 is Venus, and here we go. So as expected, so I'm not going to translate, but it talks about the characteristics of Mars, and it talks about the why is the planet such a strong symbol for fiery energy, because there's a lot of electrical energy inside of it. Even though on the surface there might be silence, there are metallic vibration coming from the planet of Mars that actually put in practice, in motion, the actions. Actually it refers to the action of the interior armies. It sounds like it's a metaphor for your own internal demons somehow. So it tells you that this planet is not a planet that would just gently touch you where it hurts. It says it actually really stabs you where it hurts. So it talks about a very strong energy, something that really doesn't pull any punches, but it's something that it's a vibration that could perhaps feel conflicting. It could perhaps feel confrontational, and its passage could bring about an element of scare, an element of fear. However, it is something that we really need, and it's our savage part, the savage part of ourselves that has this desire to express itself. It's the strength and the power of this figure of a warrior that is actually within our bodies, and it needs to be expressed somehow. It feels like it has been probably, if I look at the past 3 years, I definitely recognize this, because it has been depleted. All my strength, all my power, even my confidence have been depleted by a number of events. So obviously my determination as a consequence has waned, and I need to regain that confidence. I need to regain that determination. I need to regain that appetite sometimes for risk as well. It's a very strong planet. Whenever you need to recharge, it's a very, very strong planet. And what I really like about the description is that at the end, you've got vibratory keys as well, vibrational keys as well. So it talks about action, corporality, impulsivity, impetuosity, courage, polarity, the masculine, the passion, also anger and sexuality, and savage or wild instinct. I really like the description. Mars is obviously the planet that presides on the month of March. So this is, I would say, I couldn't have picked a better card. Even though, to be honest with you, I was hoping for something more calm, because I do need to ground myself before I actually move on to the phase of recharging and, you know, going for some kind of motivation. In any case, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pull six cards out of the Naked Heart Tarot, but I will obviously shuffle it first. Okay, so, and as usual, I'm going to have the problem of trying and fitting everything within the frame. May have to move this a bit, which is fine. Okay, well, that's not too bad. Okay, so the reason why I pulled 6 cards is because I, generally speaking, pull 4 cards for the 4 weeks of the month, which are corresponding to the corners of this card, of the oracle card in the center. And then I also pull a card for the beginning, which is also something that to me reflects a little bit of the month before. So the coming into March represented by the month of February, and then a card in this position for the following month. So if this is February, this is March, and this is April. What I'm going to reflect on is more or less in an intuitive way, but also obviously always keeping in mind the traditional symbology of the IWS, but also the specific symbology of the Naked Heart Tarot. I'm going to have a look at the energies in play, and I'm going to try and understand where I need to focus on, keeping in mind that the general advice from the Oracle card is to absolutely get into motion, embrace that fiery aspect of the planet of Mars. Going clockwise, so this is the first week, the second, the third, and the fourth. We've got 9 of Cups for the first week of March. Unfortunately, this video is, I was quite late filming this, but obviously the first week of March is gone. But it's pretty much to me, the 9 of Cups represents a little bit of the wish come true. And to me, I was waiting for so long, for more or less 6 months, in which I've been waiting for Saturn to finally pass and to finally move on to a different sign. That this past week to me has been the wish come true. So the fact that finally this wish of mine for Saturn to, you know, be completing its transit in my sign has finally come to an end. It has moved on to a different sign. The 9 of Cups is also representing the last part of this emotional cycle, because it refers obviously to the suit of water, which is the suit of emotions. Now, what's interesting to me is that even in the second week of March, which is the one that I'm entering, or we are entering these days, it's still very much reflected in the suit of water, because we have another card from the suit of Cups, so the Innocence of Cups. Jillian has changed the names on the court cards for her Naked Heart Tarot, because innocence to me in this specific types of readings tells me a lot more than the simple word page. So innocence is the renaming of the page. To me, innocence, especially when we look at the suit of Cups, is the innocence of emotions, the innocence of feelings. And it makes sense to me, because what I've been going through on an emotional level, I have been questioning. I have been questioning myself. I have been questioning my motives. I have been questioning the reasoning behind a lot of choices. But that would have presumed a certain intention. And most of the time, let me tell you, I did not have any time to set an intention to what I was doing. So it was mostly myself reacting to a number of events that have been going on in the past 3 years. And the reason why that has left me depleted is because obviously not being able to set an intention, I was just going with the flow, and I was just trying to float, you know, as you do. So recovering a bit of that innocence is very important to me. So that's what the tarot is telling me to do this week. I need to recover some of the innocence that I thought I had lost, because I started questioning every single one of my moves, every single one of my choices. What am I doing? Why am I doing that? And how silly am I for doing that? Right now, I need to forgive myself and recognize that it was what it was. It went the way it went. Now it's not the time to dwell on how many stupid mistakes I made, and just move on. And so get back to that sense of innocence that this card is trying to have me focus on. So in the third week of March, we've got the Nine of Pentacles, which is a wonderful card because it's something that I really, really need. I need a kind of windfall, but it's not just from a financial point of view, let's say. It's the kind of energy, earthy energy that you need because of the Suit of Pentacles. And I need it because I need to start so many projects that I have in mind. You know, coming out of 3 years in which I was floating in a cloud, now I have so many things that are actually concrete, and I really want to start doing something with them. But obviously I need the energy to do that, I need the support to do that and everything. And the Nine of Pentacles is a card that tells me that starting from the third week of March, I will finally receive these. Now the Sky Father on the fourth week of March tells me that now the suit of sky obviously is the suit of air, and the Father is the King. Now the King of Swords, basically. So the King of Swords, to me, when I read it from an archetypal point of view, is the expert, is the scientist. And that's really important to me because it looks as if the tarot is telling me to achieve, once I will have recouped the innocence of the intentions of what I want to do, my projects, I will also have the support to do that, but also I need the expertise, which I really don't have for the time being. So I will need to focus on acquiring all the skills, but especially the wisdom of the mind that will allow me to put these resources to good use. Now, looking at where I'm coming from and where I'm going, so the month of February here and the month of April in here, we've got the universe for the month of February. The universe is, it's important to me that it's the universe and not the world, as would be more traditional, because in this case I do recognize that month of February was a universal kind of month for me. It was the month of opening up to others after so many months in which I felt like I needed to stay just with myself. It's the month in which I had my birthday, and because of that I received everyone was wishing me a happy birthday. But it's not just that, it's the fact that you get so much attention in around your birthday. A lot of people are thinking about you, and being an empath, you definitely feel that. You feel that kind of energy. Generally speaking, it's a good energy, it's a positive vibes, and therefore it gave me the possibility to actually feel good about it. So I come from a good month of February into what's going to be a fiery month of March, and hopefully the month of April will be definitely an Ace of Wands. It will be something that will see me finally getting out there and starting my things, and starting, after I would have reconnected with my innocence and received the energies that I need and the expertise that I need, I will definitely start again getting out there and getting things in motion. So this is the way I read, let's say, with these two decks, so the Horus et Ombre Oracle d'Alchimie Lunaire and the Naked Heart Tarot, and I do this more or less ideally at the beginning of each month. Once I had this overview of the month ahead, I just proceed with try and get back some of the connection, some of the grounding that I feel like I lost, and some of the energy that I feel like I need. And one thing to do that is, normally I use decks that symbolize every connection between the mind, the body, and the spirit. But this month I feel like everything is going to be about the body, because that's the way I feel, that's where I feel most depleted. So something that I really enjoy doing is using the Land Sky Oracle by Theresa Hatch and the Vindur deck by Leah Panthea, and I'm going to show you how I do that. So these two decks are really beautiful together, not just for the aesthetics, well, mostly for the aesthetics, but also because I feel like they really complement each other. The message coming from the Vindur deck is forever for me related to the energy of fire and ice, because it's a deck that Leah has created during her stay in Iceland. I really like the contrast of those two energies. But just using this, I think it will be a bit too difficult for me to find the grounding that I need. Therefore, what I do, which is probably counterintuitive, I pair it with the Land Sky Oracle, which is something that is, on the contrary, very, very grounded. If you're not familiar with this deck, it's pretty much based on a yoga practice, and that's the reason why I really like it whenever I feel like I need to ground myself, because it's the equivalent, or you can make it as an equivalent of a yoga practice. Now, this is what I generally do with these two decks. Let me just find the right frame. So I pair them the usual way. I pair Oracle and Tarot decks, with the Tarot split in two and on the sides of the Oracle. And what I let myself do is I just look at the cards and I focus on the message expressed by the Land Sky Oracle, which, by the way, is 9 out of 10. I feel like it's a message of action, but it's a very mindful action, in the sense that, for example, it will give you a prompt for a pose. As you can see here, that's the tree pose. So in this case, I will just look at the tree pose and just try and understand where I need to apply the stillness of the tree pose. There is nothing more grounded than a tree, for example. So the tarot tells me to apply it to the card of Temperance and the Seven of Pentacles. It definitely means that I need to take a moment of take a break and just focus on everything that has been coming and going, and re-establish that kind of balance thanks to this stillness. And the 7 is just even more so a confirmation that I definitely need to take a break and have a look at what I've done so far, assess whether it's the right direction I'm going down, and eventually, you know, take a different course, or if I'm convinced that this is the right thing to do, then proceed. But for now, this is what is telling me to do, just to take a break and assess, you know, evaluate what it is that I'm doing. So this is generally what I do, and I do that for as long as I feel like I need to, or for as long as I feel like I am happy with the messages that I received. This couldn't be more beautiful. For example, the element of cups that is repeated throughout the 3 cards, together with the color blue. Now, blue for me is the color of stillness, obviously. And the word suchness between the 10 of Cups and the Queen of Cups really reminds me of the reconnection, that kind of meaningful interaction with my own feelings, and it brings me back to that innocence of cups that I pulled from the Naked Heart Tarot before. So bellows breath between the Knight of Cups and Strength. Moderation between Death and the Empress. That's a beautiful message there. I need this kind of change, absolutely, but maybe I should not rush into anything new. maybe I should just, it's another reminder to just take a moment and assess the situation, because this is actually, the Empress is becoming my stalker card this month. I pulled it so many times already, and it really seems to be telling me that I need that kind of meaningful connection with the earthy energy that I have lost. I used to be at once with nature, and I am not anymore. I mean, I'm trying, I'm starting again, but I live literally 500 meters from the ocean. So I can literally get there with, you know, just a really short stroll. And yet, because of the weather, because of several different things, I have only just started going back to the ocean in the last couple of weeks. But before that, it was very sporadic, and it's something that I really, really need. So it seems like the Empress is telling me to go back to nature, and it's a message that I appreciate a lot. So as you can see, it's really, it's always peaceful messages, thanks to the balance between these two decks and the fact that the Land Sky Oracle is very gentle. So this is the way I use the Land Sky Oracle and the Vendur deck, and it's basically for me a way to ground myself, because that was the energy I wanted to work with in March. So these two decks, the Ember and Aura Awakening edition by Jamie Richardson, and the Messages from the Heart of the Divine Oracle deck by Ashley Riverbrandt. So these two decks, I think that it's a match made in heaven, and I use these two whenever I need to reconnect with my body. I'll show you how. So in this case, I use a spread instead of a normal, let's say, interaction and pairing between the two. So in this case, I just, as always, I shuffle the Oracle deck first. And I just pull a card. Let's see. Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, I'm gonna need to zoom out as usual. Okay, so I pulled the Returning to the Elements card. So this Oracle deck, the Messages from the Heart of the Divine, is divine. I think it's incredibly important whenever you, for example, have some kind of injury you need to work on. Okay, so I had to move a few things around because there's a really weird light coming in from the window. Today we're having all sorts of weather in Australia. It's been the hottest day yesterday in the last 2 years. So we had the 38, I think, degrees Celsius in my area, but out west it was over 40. And not that we're not used to it, because honestly, when I came in Australia 15 years ago, we used to have weeks on end with over 40 degrees Celsius. So I'm actually grateful that it's not like that anymore. But the weather is a bit weird today, because there could be sun and then, you know, all of a sudden it's raining, and and my cats don't know what to do. The poor things want to go outside because it's cooler, but then it starts raining, so they have to come inside, and then I put the fan on for them because they have long hair. Anyway, you're not interested in this, sorry, it's just my ramblings. So what I've done is pulling the card Returning to the Elements, which is a really beautiful prompt, which is very important to me this month, because that's the only way for me, or for anyone really, to reconnect to the parts of myself that have been depleted in the last 3 years. So Returning to the Elements. So my next video will also be decks that I associate with witch energy, which is, I think, very important. If you're new to tarot, it's one of the most important things is understanding that each and every deck has a different kind of elemental energy, and I hope it will be helpful. So in any case, Returning to the Elements, if we have a look at what the book says, so it's number 4. What I really like about this guidebook for the oracle is that there's a bit of a description of the card. So the earth speaks in love and generosity. This language is the seed of life, etc. But what I always refer to is the ritual. So there's a bit of a prompt for a ritual that you can do whenever you pull a card. So in the case of returning to the elements, the ritual says, if possible, go outside and sit in nature, which is absolutely what I was saying before. It's something that I haven't done for a while. It's something that I absolutely need. I am literally craving this reconnection with nature that I somehow lost. And it was completely my fault because I let it go. It's something that I used to do every day, and for some reason, you know, you stop once and then you tell yourself that you start again tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes next week or next month, and then you kind of lose it. So this is very beautiful. Take a few moments to close your eyes and breathe. As you do this, take in the smells and sounds of the natural world around you. It's such a beautiful thing to do, and it's such a free thing to do, because we live in a country in which, you know, if you want a coffee, you have to face the fact that you can't find anything for less than $6 in the area where I live, for example, for a coffee, which is, you know, kind of crazy. And but reconnecting with nature is absolutely free. So this is a beautiful ritual, beautiful message. And what I do after that, I use the tarot this way. So just gonna shuffle again. What I usually do then is pull 2 cards, 1 and 2, and I'm gonna have to zoom in. Let's see. So there you go. These 2 cards represent my situation at present. It's a very stretchy kind of concept for present, in the sense that it's not chronological. It's the way in which I feel right now, which could be different from yesterday and will hopefully be different by tomorrow. But it's a snapshot, let's call it this way, of the way in which I feel. And what's, you know, where I come from and where I'm going. So the way I read this spread is, obviously this is the message that comes from the oracle. This is the snapshot of the present, so the way in which I feel right now, and this is what I should be focusing on. So it's giving me a direction for a growth in my personal practice. Generally speaking, this kind of spread is very versatile, and I use it with many different decks. It's not very specific of this combo between the messages from the heart of the divine and the Ember and Aura tarot. I can use it with other decks as well. So it creates a sense of chronological progression, where you come from, the advice, and where you should be going. Because the whole reading of today seems to be very earthy in energy, it seems to me like this is where I should focus on. So right now I feel like I definitely want to set the wheels into motion. I definitely want to get out there and embark upon an adventure, because I've been procrastinating that for so long, and now I feel like the time has come. However, it seems like the oracle is telling me that I don't necessarily have the energies yet to do that. Therefore, what I should focus on is still planning. Plan something, sit down, and there is joy in planning. If you're a traveler, you will know. Sometimes planning a trip is actually more fun than the trip itself, because you have a look at all the infinite possibilities that you have in front of you, and you give yourself permission to imagine yourself immersed into the beautiful things that you're going to see and you want to visit. So this is what's telling me. It's telling me that yes, absolutely, conserve that energy, which is very fiery, by the way. And this to me looks like Mars. Of course, it's not, it's the sun, because the character is standing on water and you know, looking towards the sun, obviously. But the fact that this planet is very red kind of reminds me of the planet Mars. It's telling me absolutely it's a good intention, but reconnect with your earthy self first, ground yourself first. And for the time being, just dedicate your energy into planning. So this is the way I use the Oracle Messages from the Heart of the Divine combined with the Ember and Aura Awakening Tarot. And last but not least, because this month seems to be like it's really focusing on reconnecting to that bodily, earthly kind of energy, I have chosen 2 decks that to me best represent that. So the Forager's Daughter Tarot, this is the Infinity Edition, and this is the quintessence of the earthy kind of decks. If you're familiar with it, it's a deck that is literally based on animals and plants and cycle of nature, which is something incredibly beautiful. And the Energy Archaeology Oracle deck is instead, it's an oracle that really focuses on our body. It looks at every single bone in the body and it identifies the bones as a center for energy, because it could be an energy that comes from the body's reaction to an injury, for example. And I've actually started using it more and more from my clients' readings, because I find that there's a lot of really good feedbacks. Especially for my practice when it comes to trauma counseling. This is an absolute superb deck for prompts, for example. But let's have a look at how I use these 2 for my March practice. So again, I had to zoom out because this is another, not large, but it's a slightly larger spread. So we're looking at 9 cards. What we're going to do is we pull 3 cards from the Energy Archaeology. And I'll put them in the center. Hopefully it will fit. So these 3 cards represent the 3, let's call them bones for now, but it's actually more like energetic centers in my body. And I pulled the Grace with elbows, the Transition card with axis vertebra, and the Surrender card with false ribs. Now this is painting a picture to me. This is painting a picture of depletion of energy. It's giving me the idea, it's as if it were visualizing my body and telling me where to focus on to just re-establish that kind of grounding that we talked about before, and that kind of flow, re-establishing that flow of energy. I did pull the Temperance card before, therefore there needs to be a re-establishment of the flow, of the balance between what is coming and what is going. And the Energy Archaeology definitely gives me that opportunity, because without it I wouldn't necessarily know where to focus on. So I feel like there's a lot of energy in the movement of giving and receiving. For example, the elbows are, you know, the joint of the arms, and the arms are something that pictures or paints the flow of going out and bringing back in. So Grace is telling me that it's possible for me to re-establish that confidence that I had lost in my interactions with others. There's a card of Transition with the axis vertebra. So I feel like sometimes people don't necessarily know. We're talking vertebra when we're talking about spinal cord. Okay, so basically the axis vertebra is, I believe, the most important one of all the vertebrae, because it's the one that sits at the base of the skull. It's also called, I think it's called Atlas, and it's basically the one that permits the skull to rotate. Now this is, to me, the keyword should not be transition, although I understand why it's transition, because it allows the head to rotate. So obviously you move from one thing to the other, you transit from one way or transition from one aspect to another. However, to me, that should be called anxiety, because what I feel is that we have a lot of reasons why we have a blockage in that transition. We have a lot of, personally, I have a lot of reasons why I don't trust my head to turn into one direction. I have been stuck looking in a certain direction for a long time because it's as if I were scared of looking elsewhere. This transition is incredibly important, and I'm very grateful that has been pointed out to me, because it signifies it's like an advice, an exhortation of just try and look the other way, but also keep in mind the possibilities that you do have that kind of movement. It is in my possibilities, and I may have to use it back and forth. Again, that kind of interaction between the Temperance card of the flowing of the water from one cup to the other. And finally, we got Surrender with the false ribs. I believe that surrender is such a powerful word, and it's kind of a funny kind of concept, because surrender by itself, it means that you have to give up. However, to me, it actually takes a lot more courage to surrender than it takes to react. So your surrender is never, in this case, it should never be passive. It's an acceptance rather than a surrender. And I do believe that there's a lot of that I need to integrate in my self-care practice. A lot of surrender or accepting that there has been this transition in my life, and I just cannot keep on looking, being stuck looking in a way, because I just refuse to look the other way. I just need to accept that. So this is a really beautiful reading that I'm already receiving from the energy archaeology. What I'm going to do now, so I pre-shuffle the Forager's Daughter, but just a couple of more shuffles here. So the Forager's Daughter is one of my most earthy kind of decks. It's a really beautiful tarot. So what I'm going to do, hopefully I'll have room for everything. Not really. Anyway, I'm just gonna read the cards out loud so you can see, but this is just to give you a general idea of what I do. This is a bit of a reinterpretation of the famous 9 cards reading. It is 9 cards, as you can see. However, I read it this way, not necessarily as an introspection into a situation, which is what I normally do whenever I pull the 9 cards. So focusing on, the situation, the past, what has led to it, and what will be the outcome, or in other terms, what hinders, what helps. And then the upper, let's say this line of cards will be specifically referred to what hinders, and this one specifically referred to what helps. It is kind of similar. So this is definitely what the position that tells me what brought this situation. It looks to me like the Lovers here more than ever signifies the choice. And it is quite clear to me that these are the choices. It is my choices. I take full responsibility for it. If now I find myself kind of stuck with the anxiety of looking in one direction and being too scared to look in the other, it's because I'm the one who has chosen to do so. And it starts, as I said before, it starts in a very simple way. Maybe one day you kind of tell yourself that you need to take a break, and then you stop doing the things that you love because you think that those are the things that hurt you the most, which is kind of stupid. Anyway, so the choices that I made definitely brought about this kind of situation that I'm kind of stuck. And what would help is the performer. So the Queen of Wands is the card of the archetype of the performer. And to me, that's definitely something that I need to get back into. Not necessarily performing, because I'm not comfortable with that concept. Because of my personality, I tend to be more private. But what I need to do is I need to perform in front of myself, not necessarily in front of an audience. Having a look at what I'm capable of doing, assessing it, judging it, and then moving on. And this is the kind of concept that I do with the other cards as well, keeping in mind though that the concept is that these are the cards that led to this situation, and these are the cards that will help me transition out of that situation. So the ingenuity in the past has led to these choices. I do take responsibility for these choices, but why did I make these choices? Because I didn't know any better. Fair enough. And the Four of Wands is, in this case, I see it as a, the card of, it's the archetype of the celebration. It's the archetype of the marriage. To me, the Four of Wands in this situation perhaps tells me that I felt comfortable in that situation. I knew that I didn't have enough information, and therefore I stayed in the safety of the four walls of the Four of Wands, because I didn't want to get out there. I didn't want to take any risks. So what will help me transition, because we need to transition out of that, is the Queen of Swords, which is my card. It represents me. I am the kind of person that focuses on the mind. For me, everything related to the thought process is incredibly important, is part of who I am. I'm also the Queen of Swords in the sense that in this case, I'm the card of resilience. So I see all of these events that have happened in the last 3 years as something that has brought me to consider the situation I'm in, and I need to surrender to it. I need to accept it. Whatever it was, if I lost some skills, if I lost some confidence, it is what it is right now. I need to accept that. And once I do, then I need to get back into it. And the Three of Pentacles shows me the way. It says, you're not alone. I have pulled this card many times before, and it seems to be telling me that I need to be part of a community. I need to be feeling this teamwork. I need to build something, but I cannot build it on my own. So I need to surrender to the fact that I miss some skills, and I need to enjoy and embrace the concept of being a part of a community. Now, this is the way I use the fairlighttarot tarot in combination with the energy ecology in this context, let's say in my practice in March. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is another new series that I'm going to introduce at the beginning of each month. I'm going to do an assessment of what energies and decks I want to work with in the month, and I'm going to show you these choices in a video. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel. It will be really helpful. My project is to do even more of this reading, but these readings, but not for myself, also for my client, but also for you, the tarot community. And it would be really cool if I could do this in a live environment. And I will look forward to do this whenever I have a base of subscribers that will allow me to have enough of an interaction. So I hope that you liked it, and more to come. Have a great day.